Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Last Minute Continue cast with me, John Turbo Finley, back again for the month of December 2019. It's the end of the year, and of course, the end of a decade here on this green earth that we call hell.
I don't know what's happening to the missing year next year, but
So yeah, it's I feel as though we're grateful that this year is gonna be ending here, but it's even gonna be,
yeah, I'm not gonna argue with that one. Actually,
it's gonna be even better this time with us coming together yet again as we have Josh,
Yarg.
Urtheart there, and John ShadowFox.
Ahoy, ahoy.
All right, back again as we, the Gaming 3, have come to not talk about the year games for 2019. No, that's another podcast. You can go listen to that. No, we are here to obviously go be talking about the games of the decade later on, with our kind of like thoughts on what we feel, what has the last 10 years of gaming have given us from 2010 to 2019. What has actually been given to us this past decade and whatnot. And we'll be going into that very shortly. However, before we get into that main topic, we're going to be talking about the one major event that happened this month, for the month of December in 2019. And of course, we did talk about this in a previous Last Minute Continue cast here on lastminutecontinue.com or on iTunes or wherever you're listening to.
That's assuming it was uploaded first, actually.
Yeah, if it was, well, it should be uploaded now.
It should be. I gave it to him about 2 days after we recorded it.
Yeah, well, of course, but who knows? But regardless, I'm sure it'll be all uploaded all together like in a big package. But the major thing that we're going to be talking about this month is that of S.A.M.E, which is the Sonic Adventure music experience that happened in the UK at the start of the month, where all three of us actually got a chance to be there.
Yeah.
Yes, it was another rare meetup.
And freeze ourselves out outside.
Oh yeah, I was Baltic at times. It's like, I mean, granted, because big cities usually tend to be kind of like decently all right. It just depends on where they are on sea level. Essentially, if it's a city that's on sea level, then you're gonna get it's gonna be a bit cold. I should know.
Depends on which sea you're near, I think, actually. So if you're down in the southern coast, it's actually not as bad because you get quite warm breezes coming.
Well, true, yeah, because you're getting close to the equator for that.
I think it just depends on where the wind is coming from as well. Because obviously, if it's coming from the equator, it's going to be warmer. Whereas up the beaches around your area, you're going to be getting northern winds, which
yes, I know
a little bit more chilly.
Northern chill.
Aye, that's why I always wrap up warm. But S.A.M.E, Sonic Adventure Music Experience. It was organized by our good friends Sven and Adam, obviously, who tended to be acting as Summer Sonic, which it's a bit questionable with ourselves. But regardless,
yeah, it's fine. Although regardless, to be fair, I think Jun had a lot to hand in it as well.
True, yeah. I mean, June. It was a collaborative effort with those three, essentially, of them talking to each other and whatnot, and wanting to do something like this. June
wasn't he already doing things in Japan anyway, like music bits for this sort of similar?
Yeah, he's done this project, essentially, this experience for a good couple of years now, or even more, actually. I should know. I bought the T-shirt twice. He's always been wanting to do stuff like this, like for the longest time, ever since since Summer Sonic, essentially, where it's like he wants to be. He is being recognized for his music and whatnot, and this is just another outlet for his contributions to his musical craft in the series, of being able to presented on a stage that could be welcomed by by the fans and whatnot. And it's very evident by the numerous kind of like times that it was showcased in Japan, the one time that it was at in the US with MagFest, and as evident by this event here in the UK in London. And but before we get into the whole event and whatnot, we'll just go into what kind of like led to the event in question, with us all conjugating to a little pub near the venue and whatnot.
Are we allowed to mention the name of the pub?
You can say it. I mean, it's been the laughing stock of us and whatnot. I'm sure we can say it on this podcast as well, because
it's called the Famous Cock.
It is, and it is very famous, for many of the roosters. But although, granted, some dirty-minded person is obviously thinking the other way. But
I mean, in the UK, we have so many of those. It's
to be fair, well, this is the thing. It wasn't a slang term probably when the pub was made.
Yeah. It's like, obviously back then, obviously they were thinking of the actual chicken, rooster and whatnot, because that's the alternate name for a rooster and whatnot.
I mean, to be fair, you've also got pubs called stuff like the Spotted Dick.
Yeah, well, that's also a dish. That is also a pudding of such. But
in the UK, outside of the UK, people do not know what that means.
No, they don't.
But, at least their rooster's alternate name is a bit more universally known.
Yeah, but we all conjugated there, got some food and whatnot, and this was before the VIP meet and greet, which most of us were gonna be going to. And I can definitely say this: we're not the most dedicated fans out there. Like, there are way more dedicated fans than us.
I think it's less that we're not dedicated and more the fact that we've seen enough of this shit and we know we're fine if we wait a little bit longer. We don't need to be the first one in line.
No matter how much you think you're into something, there are people out there who are much more into it. So much more.
Yeah, and it was quite evident by not only the VIP meet and greet, but also the main event of the concert itself.
People queuing as soon as the VIP session ended.
Yeah, essentially. It's just like they just wait
4 hours?
Yep.
Waiting?
Yeah, 4 hours. Like pretty much 4 hours. I'm surprised
4 or 5 hours
lasted that long. It was crazy.
People come prepared. People bring tents. People bring
Well,
food.
It never got to the point where they were camping outside of the bloody thing. I tell you that much. But I would think, well, being that there was a Waitrose right just next to the event and whatnot, I'm sure people just quickly popped into there, grab themselves a hot drink of some kind or whatever, or some hot food from the heater section next to the fridge and whatnot. Yeah, they probably.
I don't even know if Waitrose have those.
I do. I do. They do. It's like, I don't know why I said I do.
Well,
no,
I went
in there. I went in there to get some stuff there, and I saw it right there. It's like hot pastries and stuff like that. It's a typical thing. But no, the VIP section itself was special for a lot of us, particularly myself included. Because this is the first time meeting back with June since Summer Sonic 2016.
Since half of your mass went missing.
Yeah, essentially. And for him, and it was very good for him to see me and react just like everyone else has during that day. Because everyone else, obviously, with a lot of the kind of old Summer Sonic crew and people from Radio Sega and, Sonic Stadium, stuff like that, we were all coming together and meeting each other again, and a lot of them were just going, he's like, dude, you look great, you look fantastic and all that, and just amazed at what I did for myself and whatnot. And just to have June there, also in that kind of mindset where he knows who I am, he knows what I've done.
I'm genuinely impressed by Jun's memory, if I'm going to be honest.
I'm surprised too. I mean, it's I'm not the most recognizable person. I'm like a glorified roadie in some way of sense, essentially, because that I was, funnily enough, during that 2016, I was pretty much chaperoning his guitar for a majority of the event, where I was just keeping an eye on it for
a good band remembers their roadies.
They're good roadies.
Yeah, but
he remembered me as well, which I was very pleasantly happy about, because again, not seen him for 3 years, same as yourself, and yeah, it's just like, how have you been? It's been 3 years. How's the games going? It's like, yeah, busy.
But sadly, John, you didn't get a chance to go to the VIP section, didn't you?
No, I didn't. I say
No. Although
working Summer of Sonic,
yeah.
I've met Jun before, and it's all that. It's not. It'd be nice to have met the other two, but
although what was it when we were going to see Jun and be at the VIP meet and greet, and also get a chance to talk to Aksan and Taneda-san. Kev, what was it? Sven and Adam, they came to the line to just double check names and stuff like that, and Sven was just going, "Oh, we could have just gotten you in." It's like,
no, we'll pay for it. We're good for paying for it.
We want to support this. We've done it before with Summer Sonic. We can, we want to do this again for S.A.M.E. and whatnot. And
we should probably mention that offer was only really open for people who had been Summer Sonic staff.
Yeah.
So
yeah, don't just assume that you would just get a free entry anytime. Yeah.
It's not mates rates. It's professional still.
Was it people who claim to be Summer Sonic staff and rock up to the door? We do. Anyone that does that kind of stuff personally knows every member of staff, basically.
Yeah.
I say this from experience of people trying to get in the door.
Oh no, I totally understand. But no, it was nice that Sven wanted to give that up, offer and whatnot. But really, no, you don't think so. We if we're not part of this event on a working capacity, we'll come into
pay our
it,
fair share,
like everyone else, and
because we want to support it. That's
we want to support it, and we also now realize every single person who came to Summer Sonic every year, and we now feel their pain in waiting in line for an event to start, because that was quite evident. I mean, it was a sold out venue. It had 1,000 people, and it was like for 1,000 person venue, and wouldn't you know it, it looked and kind of like was.
It was packed.
It was packed like there was 1,000 people there. So there was no hyperbole on it, where people just bought tickets for the sake of buying tickets to, just to build up the numbers and whatnot, and just sold out the whole thing. And while it's not actually sold, no, it looked like it sold out. It looked.
To be fair, it's a fairly niche event to a certain extent. So it's one of those ones where the only people that are going to buy tickets are probably going to be the hardcore fans, I'd say.
Yeah. It was evident that it was going to be just the hardcore fans. And granted, there are a lot of hardcore fans in the UK that are still
or from
active.
abroad. There was a fair few people that flew in.
Oh yeah. Oh, don't get me wrong. There was plenty of people who flew in. I mean, granted.
You flew in.
Well, I say flew in. Yeah, I flew in, but I flew in from just the other side of the country, not like overseas and whatnot. But there were
definitely people from France and Spain.
Yeah,
and there was a particular person from Canada.
Yes, who apparently still calls himself British, even though he's in Canada now, and he's looking to get some.
And he has a Canadian citizenship, I believe.
Yeah, so he's British Canadian now. Yeah, doesn't make any sense. But regardless, it does have that kind of like attention and whatnot. The event itself, we'll go into that now. Where the event itself. It was what I would expect from Jun. Now, granted, Jun's public talking, he's he still has a bit of like hesitation to it, because obviously English is not his first language, even though he's spent years overseas working with many English-speaking kind of like team members and stuff like that, like in Sonic Team USA back in the day, back in like 2000 and whatnot.
I mean, he certainly. I mean, he was fluent enough that he could have probably carried the show on his own. But there were parts where Sven and Adam did come on stage. But honestly, there was a large part where he was the one presenting and doing a lot of the chatting.
Yeah, aye. There was the how it was kind of like presented as well. Like this was professional. This was a proper professionally done like concert and whatnot. I didn't hear any problems with the with equipment or music or anything like that or anything whatsoever. It was all well done and it ran smoothly. I mean,
yeah, there's a few parts where I think the DJ was mixing a few bits on the fly, but I only know that because I've worked in that area before, so I kind of know how it works. But no, it was really well done. It sounded brilliant. The room was thumping. Okay, admittedly, maybe a little bit loud for my taste, but then I'm not used to rock concerts.
Well, with myself, this was being like my second. Third kind of like major concert kind of like venue. First one being Crush 4E, 2 Nights to Remember, the 2 nights in Japan. The Hatsune Miku Miku Expo kind of like event.
I forgot about that.
last year? Was it last year? I think it was last year.
It was last year. Yeah, last winter.
Yeah, last winter.
Probably by the time this goes out, 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2018. Yeah, back in 2018.
Because I forgot I met you up for that, but I didn't go to the concert itself. It was just because it was a chance to see Turbo while he's down this end of the country, and it's fairly easy for me to see him.
Yeah.
Convenient.
Convenience. Now the S.A.M.E. UK, and in those kind of like environments, I can handle those environments because, well, granted, I'm quite a deaf bugger anyway, it's like, to a certain degree. So my ears are already shot. So it's like, what's a couple of concerts gonna do to me? Make me go deaf? I've
been going to concerts since. I used to do them a lot more when I was in schools, and my hearing is still absolutely fine. Less so.
I'm going to attribute mine to studying music for a while, but this is the first concert I've done in many years where it's a stand-up concert. My knees were not happy with me by the end of it. The last few concerts I've done have all been, yes, I can book a seat to listen to this. The biggest one I can remember was Genesis for their final farewell tour. Probably no one listening to this is going to be old enough to remember Genesis, apart from you guys maybe. But
I recall the band.
The funniest thing is that was held at Old Trafford, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
which was the seated venue, yeah.
Well, no, it also had a standing area on the football field.
All right.
So there were standing tickets. What I don't quite get is how people were moshing to some of the slow songs. I was just like, do you just automatically mosh nowadays?
You can mosh to anything. Just run at each other.
Yeah, I think that was just a case of people just keeping themselves active and trying not to,
freeze.
Yeah, because what time of the year was that? Was that a winter time?
No, I think it was summertime, but it was quite late.
Oh, well, so it might have been just cold. But with some of the tracks that were played for the thing. Now, many people had the complaint. It's like, oh, it's not all Sonic Adventure music. Oh, it's not called the Sonic Adventure music experience. Then it's got all this Team Sonic racing and Sonic this, that, and everything. Not all the Sonic Adventure.
There's a couple of Sonic Generations slash.
Yeah,
games that Generations were based on, I guess.
Yeah, there's certain mixes involved. But here's the thing. It's a Sonic Adventure music experience. It's like, it's not just the adventure side. It's pretty much an experience overall, essentially, for everything that Jun himself has done, and he's been on this. He's been part of that franchise for over 2 decades.
Sonic 3, I think, was his first one.
Yeah, essentially, and so which is now coming up to actually, it's probably now 3 decades now. I think
Sonic 3 will be 1994, so it would be 2014 will be the 3 decade. No, 2024. Sorry, will be the.
Yeah. So it's been over 2 decades, 2.5 decades that he's been part of that franchise, and this him celebrating his major contributions to the series, which is from the Adventure series onward, essentially.
I think there's also something to note, which is that Act is quite a recent member of the band.
Yes, he's been recently, brought on by June himself.
So Team Sonic Racing is going to be the biggest game he's worked on.
Yeah,
and Sonic Racing was. A lot of this music is recycled from the old games anyway. Remixes
and stuff, yeah, certainly.
Yeah, and heck, even what was it? Even some of the stuff that Act didn't do, like for example, the what was it? Eggman's theme in Sonic Adventure, and they did that. Yeah, that there obviously was kind of like a nice little kind of like a nice song to have all 3 members of the band to have like a solo to themselves, and Act just going off on the drums in that solo, and it's like the dude knows how to play the song, and the dude knows how to work on those drums. So frankly, even though he didn't originally do the song, he still bloody well does it well. So
he probably puts his own spin onto it as well. That is also not intended to be a pun on the fact that he did do a fair bit of showboating with his drumming and drumstick skills.
Well, yeah. He's obviously a drummer. He's a drummer. He's no. I'm trying to think of like the. Who's the drummer who uses double basses in his songs?
I know of a few, but you're gonna have to narrow that down.
It's in one of the major bands, like it was either Motorhead or Iron Maiden.
Neither of which are bands I listen to, so
I can't remember. But
yeah, I mean, Act is definitely a very accomplished drummer, and you could tell he took his own style with some of them, especially when he was soloing. Stuff.
Aye, and Taneda-san, who obviously who has worked on the Adventure games in the past, and he's been on and off with the series for the long time. Even him, he's like, they're just great. They did show what they can do at that concert, and frankly, I was impressed most of the time. It's like, and the song choices. Great song choices.
It was a really nice, varied selection. I'm very happy they played one of my favourite tracks, which is Prison Lane.
That's a good one, because I would have thought that would have been a problem with the backing track and whatnot, because there was a lot of like electric keyboard used in that one, I believe.
There's ways round it. Potentially that could have been one where they could have waited for the guest guitarist to come, because you could instead cover that with 2 guitars, really.
Speaking of which,
go on.
What was it? Yeah, no, you can go ahead.
I was going to mention something different, but actually I want you to go first.
No, well, I was going to say the guest guitarist that did show up for this. Now I've forgotten their name, because obviously I'm an idiot. Because I didn't look. Because actually, I did kind of like step out for a second to catch up with someone who recognized me while the concert was ongoing and whatnot, and I wanted to kind of like see how he was going and whatnot. But so I missed the introduction of who came up on stage to join June with doing some backing. Guitar tracks for a couple of songs. I think Eternal Engine was one of the.
Eternal Engine was definitely one of them.
Yeah.
Oh, was that Miles? Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. Got a got a friend request from me on Facebook.
Oh, well. Fair enough.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, him popping up for a couple of tracks and whatnot, he did, great. And the best thing, again, I don't know whether or not this was like June's choice or Adam's. I'm going to assume it's Adam's choice.
I think Miles. So he's called Miles Meakin. He's from a band called Midnight City.
Mm-hmm.
So they did Eternal Engine and Metal Harbor was the other one.
Yeah, Metal Harbor,
which does require dual guitars, so that makes sense. I'm pretty sure he's been at one of the Summer Sonics before. I think he's actually worked with Jun.
All right.
I'm pretty sure he did a duet with Jun at one of the Summer Sonics.
I think he might have. I do recognise him a bit.
Yeah.
If I'm going to think that's the case, I would think it would have to be 2012.
I think it was it was the Brighton one.
Yeah.
I think so.
Because that was the year where a lot of kind of like community kind of like collaborations with June at that time happened.
I think Miles might have done some stuff in Japan with Jun as well. So.
All right.
So I think they know each other a bit.
Yeah. So really, it was kind of good, and of course, evident by his kind of like involvement, and of course with Act, we kind of like realized this as well. It's like Act himself and Miles were fans of these games well before getting into music in general and whatnot. And
it helped them get into the music business.
Yeah, it helped them get into it, and then being able to be a part of these projects and whatnot to kind of like live the dream essentially. I feel as though that was the coolest thing about how this has always been the case with the Sonic community, is that people who put their effort into it will eventually find a way of like being a part of it.
There's a lot of people who have done stuff either like fan art. There's a lot of fan artists who went to work in the comics. There's one we know that went to work on official art for the games as well.
Mm-hmm.
There's certain Archie artists who there's quite a few Archie artists who
and I think it's Kieran, who was a Summer Sonic staff, who did a load of stuff for us and has gone on to work doing official art for Sega.
Mm-hmm.
And Tyson,
yep,
who is still somewhat fondly remembered for his old comic with Arms the Kitsune and Nipples the Enchilada.
Hello. Batface the Rogue.
And then, but even just stuff like Sega are very happy with fans continuing doing fan projects, and heck, Sonic Mania.
Yeah. And it's evident how it's like today's fans can be tomorrow's workers on the franchises,
but actually,
something certain kind of like companies who try to shut down all these fan projects and whatnot don't realize that you could have like a new team of young developers that can help usher in more ideas into your franchise and whatnot and help it propel forward.
See, unfortunately, those I know which company you're talking about, and they are very against that idea. They don't want new ideas coming in. They want to stick to the traditions,
which is kind of silly.
But one thing I will also go with on the fan side was one of the things I think that the team did very well was improvisation, with a few bits they did on stage. During one of the out of left field tracks I wasn't expecting was the Sonic Adventure 1 character select theme, because supposedly that's one of Act's favourites.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously different characters came up during it because they had a video in the background, and everyone cheered for Big, so they came.
Okay, I'm just gonna nip this in the bud right now. I hate that. I hate how Big has all this kind of like adulation, and I don't know why. I just don't know why. Because they like the stupid. Apparently, I was probably the only person in that concert that did not cheer during that moment.
Wow.
I will say though, the improvisation that John did afterwards was well worth it still. Where it's essentially it obviously wasn't on schedule because they didn't have any backing track, but Jun just did the lead tune on the guitar. I think Act and Tanada did join in, but everyone just started sing. Everyone else in the crowd just started singing the theme tune,
the
Big's
Days
theme, as done on stage. I think somewhat to Adam and Sven's dismay because they weren't expecting it.
Well, of course. Yeah, that tends to happen a lot at stuff like this, where if you start something, the crowd will continue it. It's like wrestling.
What you don't tend to have though with a lot of these concerts is you don't have that kind of reactionary kind of influence, and that's what I quite liked. Is that there was several times where Jun would just go completely off track and just go, you know what, let's do this. It sounds like a bit of fun. He was noticing a lot of people were singing along to non-vocal tracks by like going do 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 do.
Well, that was always the case. Yeah, that's always the case with video game music. It's that it has that catchy kind of like melody and whatnot, and you'll just hum it and whatnot. And if you're hearing it again on a major stage like that, you will start humming it.
Oh yeah, but then
you have no lyrics to speak, so you just have to kind of work with what you got.
But then Jun took that to the next level and just said, let's do it again and let you guys do the main tune while I do stuff underneath. And it's that kind of interaction that I really think is a nice personal touch to that. As well as the audience song that Jun got us to sing to get the encore, basically.
Yeah. Which was, of course, Cityscape.
No, the song we sung before that.
Oh, before that.
Happy Birthday.
Oh, yes, of course.
Because it was Aksan's birthday as well.
Yes, indeed. I totally forgot that.
So we all sung Happy Birthday. Jun got on the guitar to play it. And yeah, while Act was brought on stage and got delivered a cake by Adam, I believe, everyone in the audience sang Happy Birthday because why not?
No, why not? It's always timely how sometimes these events fall on like certain people's birthdays. Summer Sonic usually fell on June's birthday most of the time, and now this event for S.A.M.E fell on Act's birthday and whatnot. What timing, eh?
But yeah, I mean, overall the thing was an absolute blast. I mean, I'll be honest, I go down there just as much to see friends and stuff as well, because a lot of people I know go to this event because I've worked with them for a long time.
Yep, I'm totally in agreement in that. That was the major thing for myself, was to just meet up with everyone again and to have some fun and whatnot, and just to have a blast. And the S.A.M.E was kind of like the backing to that to that time down.
I would say it was kind of the main performance of it. Everything else was kind of the build up to it, where it's kind of catching up with everyone, and it's a longer part of the event and is great, but we still had that big high of the concert itself to go to.
Yeah. Definitely. It was quite the high for all of us, I believe. Definitely. But yeah, John, you have any final thoughts on that?
Not really. No, I'll say you said pretty much most of it. I kind of joined late, and but no, I mean it's a concert. It's fantastic. It's a video game music concert, which is you don't see. I mean, it's becoming more common.
It's becoming more common. I'm actually kind of sad. More popular. I'm kind of sad I haven't got tickets for the Nier Automata one, because I would have quite liked to have gone for that one.
I'll tell you what, it's definitely seems to be the more Japanese-related companies that are are interested in this. We got Sonic. Nintendo did a Zelda one, didn't they?
Yep.
Yes.
FromSoft, I think, was there a Dark Soulsy one, or was it Final Fantasy?
Not in the UK. Final Fantasy's had a few.
Yep.
Square have done quite a few. I think part of it is just because of the way that Japanese companies see their music as this grand performance in itself.
Which, to be fair, pretty much, yeah.
It is these days, and certainly, like, there have been several Final Fantasy ones, but they tend to have some that are like anniversaries of the series, and then they have dedicated ones to different games. So,
and I mean, of course, we've also got Tommy Tallarico doing his video games live.
don't think it really happens as often anymore. I think Tommy's...
Well, yeah, granted, in recent years, it hasn't been happening that often, but that was kind of like the starting point, I think, for video games getting, concert-like, kind of like performances and whatnot. I wish it was still, going at a stronger point, but because that one has been happening since, I don't know, like 2010, I think.
I mean, it's been going as long as I've known most of the LMC crew, to be honest.
Yeah, so...
We're going to see when did the Video Games Live start, because that might be another thing of the decade. Oh, no. Wow.
No, I think it started before the decade.
2002.
Yeah, that's.
I don't think it was in the UK at 2002.
Yeah, because it was a US thing. Obviously, it was more prominent during the runs during there.
Tommy's a US composer, so
yeah. But no. Speaking of decades, I think that's perfect segue to go into the main topic for this podcast.
Which is the main topic? That's been 45 minutes since we.
Yes. Well, I wouldn't say 45 minutes, about 35.
Yeah, we started a little bit later than we intended.
Yeah, but no. What we are going to be talking about now is that of the games of the decade. I have compiled a couple of games that I've played over the last decade that I feel are real good contenders for the thing. And we're just going to go through each of the years. So we're going to be starting in 2010 and then going away all the way up to I was going to say 2018, but I think we might cut off to 2017 because you can go and check back with the previous Game of the Year podcast that we've done for those years. And it's like we've done 2017, 2018, and 2019. So you can go check out those ones and see.
And it's the three of us doing it, so
yeah.
It is,
so
we might just give a little brief overview of those years, but I think no need to go into too much detail.
Yeah, I've got a couple of titles in those things.
I should have actually looked up to see what my two Game of the Years were for those years, though I think I may know.
Also, the Game of the Years was only games that we played that year.
This
way, I mean, my games I've played that year is now increased by me going back.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in fact, there was two games that were in the ones that I was like, this probably would have been in my top 5 if I'd played it. Now that I've played them, yeah, they probably would have been in my top 5.
So let's get right into it then. We're going to go back to 2010. 2010 had quite the number of games that I was playing during here. It's like I have about 10 titles here, and or some that are kind of like some that kind of like bled into 2011 and whatnot because they came out originally in their country of origin in 2010 but weren't released until the following year for other countries like myself.
Back when worldwide release dates just weren't heard of.
Yeah, because of either localization issues or like licensing issues or stuff like that, or exclusivity issues like I've seen with other titles and whatnot. But one particular, I'm just going to start off with this one because this one actually came out in Japan in 2009, but then got released into the following year.
I think I know which one this is.
And that's Bayonetta. Because, funnily enough, in February, I think it's February, Bayonetta and Vanquish are celebrating their 10th anniversary with a double pack on PS4 and I think on Xbox as well.
Is that just a re-release or like a re-update?
It'll
be the PC versions, I think.
I believe it's the updated PC versions, but then optimized for Xbox One and PS4, so they're running at 60 frames steady, I believe.
That's nice. 'Cause I quite enjoyed Vanquish. Vanquish was on my sort of mentions list for this year because I didn't pick it up early, but I think it was because I picked up a PlayStation 3 late, and I think Vanquish was the game I got with my PS3.
I've bought Vanquish 3 times now, and I've still not played it. I need to get on that. But I did platinum Bayonetta. I think I've only got it once.
Well, at least you platinum played Bayonetta. I might. I'm questioning whether or not I should platinum it. I got all the achievements.
It's not worth it.
Well, no, here's the thing. I did get all the achievements in the 360 version, but I never got the PS3 version. But I don't know whether or not to do it all again on the PlayStation 4 version. It's not worth it. I didn't do it all again when I played it on the Switch. I'll tell you that much. So, but anyway, moving from there, a couple of other titles I want to point out as well. Alan Wake came out that year as well, 2010. I know Red Dead Redemption came out that year as well.
Red Dead Redemption, Super Mario Galaxy 2, Mass Effect 2, StarCraft 2.
A lot of good games came out that time, but some of my own personal things that I played. Last Window, The Secret of Cape West, which is underrated adventure, mystery title. No More Heroes 2 Desperate Struggle came out that year as well. Skull Pilgrim vs. the World, the game, that came out in 2010, and that is sorely missed to this day.
It got online multiplayer.
It eventually got online multiplayer, but whether or not the server, but whether or not the servers are still active, I don't know. The game that got me into the series, Shantae Risky's Revenge, came out in 2010.
You're a bit of a fan.
I forgot that was a DSi game, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was out on DSi first in 2010, and that was the entry point for me.
I mean, you can be forgiven for forgetting anything from this time.
Oh yeah, definitely. What was it? We also had Sonic Colors came out that year, as well as Sonic 4 Episode 1.
And Sonic All-Stars Racing.
And All-Stars Racing, yeah. Sumo Digital's, greatest contribution. I mean, prior to that, they had the, Sega All-Stars, Sega Superstars Tennis beforehand. Yes. But this was their kind of like the big follow-up from that.
Trying to remember where Summer of Sonic was that year.
That was at, in 2009, it was at the Truman Brewery.
So was it Shepherd's Bush, wasn't it?
Shepherd's Bush, that was the one after, I believe.
Oh wait, no, Shepherd's Bush.
2010 would have been Shepherd's Bush. That was an interesting one.
Yeah, definitely.
I actually don't have any picks from this year because I went off the main definition of a decade, which means 2010 would be the end of the 201st decade.
But, it's questionable where it's all where the decade. Many people that are talking about the decade, they usually say like 2010 is the start, and then 2019 would be the end. But
unfortunately, none of that is correct if you go by any historical, mathematical, or scientific basis.
Anyway,
the number changes. The third number changes. That's the new decade.
No, it isn't. That's the problem. No, it never has been. Because if you look at stuff like how centuries are named, when does the 12th century start?
In the wrong year.
It starts in 1101, because that's the start of the... Because the first century would be year 1.
I don't care about your scientific specifics.
Moving on.
Yeah.
I want to talk about a couple of other cleanups as well. Splatterhouse 2010 came out. And now that was obviously something that was totally overshadowed because a lot of people just didn't find any appeal in it.
Are we sure that came out in 2010 if it's called Splatterhouse 2010?
Well, I'll tell you why, because the better Splatterhouse, Super Meat Boy. That was a lot of splattering of meat.
Did that come out in 2010?
Yeah, but that was more kiddie.
That was 2010, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. A couple of other things. Poker Night at the Inventory came out that year as well.
Oh, was that? Oh, fantastic.
And Rocket Knight and a couple other little things like the free game Doritos Crash Course came out that year.
Oh, was that year? Jesus, I remember that.
I know,
Doritos have actually done a fair few games, which is worrying.
But Crash Course was the better of the two that they released on Xbox Arcade.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that much because was it Dash of Destruction?
I thought they'd done a third one that got released this year.
Dash of Destruction was the first one. Crash Course was the second one, but I can't remember what the third one was.
I'm pretty sure they did one quite recently, like last year or two.
And a last couple of things here to clean up. We had Dead Nation that also came out. GoldenEye, the remake of GoldenEye 007. Ken's Rage, Fist of North Star, big fan of that. But I think it feels though that one of the big ones that was part of the 2010s was Halo Reach.
Which I never played.
we started with Halo Reach and we've ended with Halo Reach.
Essentially, yes.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah.
This is Halo Reach. Fantastic entry into the Halo series. I think of that year, that was probably my favourite game. Definitely my most played.
Yeah, no, I can definitely agree. Like that there, Halo Reach, I feel as though that's a massive contender for like game of the decade. I think because that was Bungie's like swan song, essentially to the series.
It really was.
What was it a way to end their kind of like work for the series? It's a shame it's all been screwed up with 4 and 5.
I didn't mind 4 so much.
4 wasn't too bad. Actually, I really did enjoy 4.
4 was okay.
I enjoyed
5
4.
Totally screwed it.
I think well, you know what? We get when we get to those years, we'll speak more about them.
Good point.
But anyway, 2011.
Hang on.
There
was one last one in 2010.
All right.
Peace Walker.
Oh God, yeah. Well, that was the PSP release, wasn't it?
That was, I believe, that was for PlayStation 3 as well. Oh no, and HD later on. But yeah, the original PSP version of Peace Walker. I didn't play it until the HD edition, but
no, the HD version was a lot later.
Yeah. But it's like it originally released now and I really enjoyed it actually. One of my favorite. It was a.
It's considered one of the best games for the PSP. Still is.
But yeah, so I think that was the last thing I wanted to bring up about 2010. So just didn't want to leave Metal Gear out.
2011 though was a big year.
Oh, big year.
Well, not only was that a year for a new console being out of the 3DS, so you had like a lot of the 3DS like launch titles for that system, like Super Mario 3D Land was out on that year.
Interestingly, I'm looking at the list of the like. I'm going by my list with the highest rated games to see which ones I'd actually played.
All right.
2010 was very little. 2011, there's a lot of these on here that I've played.
Oh yeah.
Look, there's that Metal Gear Solid HD collection we just.
Yes.
Yeah, but here's a couple of things that I kind of like played during that year, or like they came out, but I either played in that year or a little later.
Oh.
You got like Batman Arkham City, where I played the Armored Edition on Wii U a couple of years or a year afterwards.
I mean, Arkham City is definitely deserving in that top, in some of those top spots. That is a fantastic game.
Best Metacritic game of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
L.A. Noire, which is another game that I played way later. That also came out during that year. A very, very controversial entry in Duke Nukem Forever. It's like some people don't like it.
I came out.
Yeah, I liked it. Yeah, I liked it.
It's not controversial. It did come out during that time. There's no argument about that.
True.
No, it's just some people just got a question.
It was just a few decades too late.
I think it was only 14 years in development. So only missed it by a decade and a bit.
Yeah, I'll say, if you ever want a good case of development hell, Duke Nukem Forever is probably the perfect example.
Duke Nukem, I've always said this, Duke Nukem Forever is a really good example for someone to play if you want to get into game design, to see how game development changed through the years, and how a game's development somehow didn't catch up with that and just changed the way the game worked as they developed it through the years. And you can see these huge seams where it happens.
But yeah,
and yeah, I still recommend anyone who wants to get into game design play that game.
I don't
get it cheap.
Yeah, a couple other things. Was it Sonic Generations came out that year, of course, to celebrate Sonic's 20th anniversary.
Yeah, that would have been his 20th anniversary.
Oh wow!
Yep. Yeah. Portal 2 came out that year as well.
Is that the last game that Valve released prior to? Oh no, they released that card game, didn't they?
Hearthstone. No, Hearthstone. The Hearthstone, not the not Hearthstone.
Artifact.
Actually, no, not true. They released Dota in 2013.
Yeah.
That's true. I thought it was an early access around the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah, Portal 2 came out that year. That's a big one.
Elder Scrolls came out that year.
Skyrim came out that year.
Well,
Well, they have had a second Elder Scrolls release in this decade, of course.
Oh, they did, yeah.
Elder Scrolls Online.
Of course.
Yeah.
And 2 other versions of Skyrim. VR and Special Edition.
So many. Skyrim on your phone, on your fridge, you name it.
Yeah.
Was it Deus Ex Human Revolution?
2 Zeldas.
Oh yeah, Skyward Sword and Ocarina of Time 3D.
Of which I would definitely say Ocarina of Time 3D was the better one.
Oh, Dead Space 2, Mass Effect 2.
No, Mass Effect 2 came out the year before.
Yeah, sorry, that was PlayStation 3 came out this year.
Yeah.
It came out.
Gears of War 3.
Yep, I was going to get to that. Gears of War 3, I think, feels though that was a great ending to a trilogy.
Dark Souls was this year.
Oh, was it? Actually, yeah, it would have been, wouldn't it?
That is. That's the
start of the memes.
I think that's a good game good game series for the decade. One that.
I'll be honest. 2011 did have a lot of strong contenders. There was actually one other game that released during this year, that I'm actually going to come on to later because it was re-released in the same decade with a brand new engine. About 3 years later.
I think there's one that hasn't been mentioned that I think we have to.
What's that?
Minecraft.
Oh yeah.
When did that come out?
It says 2011 in September, but I think that might just be when it maybe came out of alpha or something. I'm not.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't want to commit to whether that one came out.
Well, it's definitely a game that came out in this decade. I'll definitely say that.
Actually, another big one, Rayman Origins.
That's fun.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's big to some people. No, well, sadly not.
It definitely revitalized Rayman.
Yeah, to a certain degree. It made it split away from the Rabbids series at least.
And Payday, the heist, the original Payday, that was 2011.
Did that come out then? Jeez.
I think that's a game we've played a few hours, maybe a few days in.
Just a few.
But yeah, moving on to the next year, 2012. Jeez, in this year particularly, there was a lot of games that were released this year but didn't get released in the UK until the following year. So games like Anarchy Reigns, Dead or Alive 5, Ken's Rage 2, Project Diva F, Harmonite, Project Cross Zone, Persona 4 Arena, Beat the Beat Rhythm Paradise. All those games, they were all released in their territories. Like the original territories in 2012, but weren't released either the following year or the previous year. So
speaking of Persona, though, there was one Persona that was released in 2012 that did actually come into my contention of, this actually might be my game of the decade before I remembered another game, and that is Persona 4 Golden.
Yes.
Now, admittedly, that is a re-release, so
it is
debatable, but it was the first time I played it. So.
Yeah, it's debatable, but it did bring more to the game. Like it added more stuff to.
And I think a lot of people discovered Persona 4 through Golden than they did through the PS2 version.
I think the Vita was pretty much successful based on Persona. I think
it had a few more notches to its belt, but yeah, I agree, it was a big part of it.
Yeah. But a couple other titles that were released that year in 2012. Resident Evil 6 and Revelations were on the 3DS. That was out that year. Episode 2 of Sonic 4 came out there. Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed came out that year.
That's a good one. A good improvement over the series.
I can agree with that. I mean, although granted, it's hard as balls at points, but still.
Oh, yeah.
Max Payne 3 came out that year as well.
Mass Effect 3.
Yep, Mass Effect 3. The Wii U also came out that year as well, so you had like a lot of Wii U releases being out of like New Super Mario Bros. U and all that.
Borderlands 2, Far Cry 3.
Borderlands 2 was quite a big one. To be fair, so was Far Cry 3. And Dishonored
as well. Yeah, that's a fun one. I played a lot of Dishonored.
I'm going to give a shout out to a big indie one, Super Hexagon.
Oh, yeah.
That got released then, which is such a simple game, but works so well. On the Nintendo side, Fire Emblem Awakening, which I thoroughly enjoyed that one. Oh,
yeah.
The other thing that got released, the revision of XCOM, Enemy Unknown.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
This is also the year of Halo 4.
Yep.
And we're still fine with Halo. We're still fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah, every fine for now.
Actually, one that I quite enjoyed: Zero Escape Virtue's Last Reward.
Oh,
Never finished it, but I quite enjoyed what I've played.
And I think maybe my favourite game of this year, Walking Dead. The original Telltale's Walking Dead, the one that put them on the map.
Yeah, I think they released the entirety of it that year, didn't they?
They did, yes.
I forgot to mention that before. They did actually have Back to the Future, the game. I say the year prior, but it was like 2010. It started in 2010 and finished
in 2011.
Release.
They did a lot of those where they released the first episode in the previous year and the rest of it afterwards.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that again, another major contender. Like between 2011 and 2012, there was like a lot coming out during that time.
Yeah, it was definitely like quite a big
thing.
push.
But it wouldn't stop there. It wouldn't stop there because 2013. Here's just a couple of. Here's some the notable ones that I put down. Batman Arkham Origins. Metal Gear Rising Revengeance.
God, Rising Revengeance is fun. I think I've bought that on every single platform.
Yeah.
Can't stop me.
What was it? Sonic Lost World, Super Mario 3D World, The Wonderful 101, Beyond Two Souls.
Stanley Parable.
I forgot. I kept forgetting this, even though it started back in 2000. What was it? 2008 or 2007? I can't remember. But the Mario and Sonic Olympic Games.
Yeah,
that been prominent during this decade with with the 2012 game in 2011, and then the 2014 Sochi Winter Games in 2013. Killer's Dead, but I think the most notable one from 2013 that I've got down here is The Last of Us.
The Last of Us is a big one. I've still yet to play that game. I own it, but I've not played it.
There were two other games this year that made notes for me, which was BioShock Infinite. I quite enjoyed that was fun. GTA 5.
Yeah, I'm surprised you hadn't mentioned that one yet. That was the start of a... GTA 5 has not come out of the top 40 since it was released then.
Yeah, I mean, granted,
the UK.
That series obviously doesn't even come up as a blip on my radar at all, because it's not in my thing. I mean, look, the one game that I put down in 2013, and I didn't put down like those big titles, was Killer's Dead. It's like what kind of a gamer I'm like.
But to be fair, the other ones were you had Fez come out that year.
Oh yeah.
You had Rayman Legends.
Rayman Legends. You had Saints Row 4.
Yes, it's true. Spelunky came out that year. I think you mentioned Stanley Parable as well.
Stanley Parable, Dota 2, Pokemon XY. That was that year.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I forgot about those ones.
Again, it's those kind of like franchises. It's not. Again, there's so many games. We're just pointing out how many.
Yeah, I'm not going to say I've played all these games, but I can at least say that this was like GTA 5. I own it. I've played it. Not a big player of it, but you can't deny it was a big game.
Yeah.
Although for some reason this list also has critically panned games of the year.
Yeah, like this is the first year on Wikipedia that has the worst games of the year on it for some reason. Which Ride to Hell Retribution, congratulations. I watched a Let's Play of that, and that was unpolished would be the word I would use. Like there was a game, it worked, but
did it work?
It worked. Oh, Dive Kick was this year, 2013. As was Payday 2. Payday 2 was 2013. 2 more big games.
That's now still Shambling Corpse.
Well, I mean, honestly, Payday 2 was running fine till about 2018. Had a few hiccups, but I say they're looking at bringing it back for Payday 3, which honestly, it's a good series.
Yeah, we'll see how they handle it.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on to next year, 2014.
The Last of Us Remastered and Grand Theft Auto 5 get re-released for the new generation.
Yeah, the new generation started here, and a lot of kind of like stuff that was on the previous generation is coming over to the next gen, or current gen as we're calling it now. But some of the notable ones that I have down here, like Wii U was getting right into it. Like Bayonetta 2 came out.
Yeah.
Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker.
I think that's where the Wii U had its best year, definitely.
Yeah. Well, Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker, it just missed 2014 in the UK because it came out like a couple of days after the New Year.
So, funny thing I found out about that is Nintendo were insistent it should come out on the 1st of January. And all the shops were like, we're not open, you idiots. We're not going to sell it or deliver it to anyone. No one's working. It's a national holiday.
Yeah, it was silly, that.
I will say the first game on top of this list that I actually think does deserve a good mention is Shovel Knight.
Shovelly Knight, yeah.
Good
Chivalry.
Yeah.
What else?
Although speaking of indie titles, I mean this year I played a lot of indie titles like Freedom Planet. Although granted, Freedom Planet came out the year after on Wii U, but
we're on 2014, right?
Yeah, Valiant Hearts, that was a really good one. Really good indie title. Well, I say indie title, it was published by Ubisoft, but
I mean,
still a really good one.
Yeah, I think my favorite.
Never Alone as well. Another really good indie title. Both of those games were part of the PlayStation Plus program at one point, which is a good shout on that. Castle of Illusion remake came out that year.
Was that that year as well?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh. So my big game on here, Dark Souls 2.
Dark Souls 2 was this year, yep.
And Metro Redux as well.
Wasn't Dark Souls 2 like the least favourite of people's?
Yes, but it also introduced a lot of stuff they stuck with in Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3.
Yeah,
true. What else is it? Smash Brothers for Wii U was this year.
Yep. For Smash Brothers for Wii U and 3DS. Yeah.
So big one for me.
Wolf Among Us.
Oh yeah, there was Wolf Among Us as well.
Wolf Among Us. That was again one of my fun ones for this year.
Big one for me is this is the year the Binding of Isaac Rebirth came out. Now, the original came out in 2011. Mm-hmm. But when they did the Rebirth, because the original was based in Flash, basically. So they redid it in a proper games engine. And yeah, Binding of Isaac is one of those evergreen ones for me. I've kept playing that a lot. And they're still making content for it. Which was supposed to be released this month and got delayed till Q3 next year. So.
Oh dear. What did I have? So Master Chief Collection was that year as well, 2014. A bit of a botched launch.
Actually, you know what else was that year? Destiny.
Destiny was that year. I was about to say Destiny, because that's definitely one of my winners of that year. Certainly the one I spent.
Would have thought that would be the case.
Yeah, I mean, I'm stuck. I'm stuck in that Destiny. That's my that's my games as a service. There was one other... Dust and Elysian Tale. That was on PS4 that year, so that came out before. When did that actually come out? Because that was fantastic, that game.
Interesting one. Metro... Is it... Yeah, Metro...
Oh, that was 2012.
Redux? Came out that year?
You said that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Far Cry 4, that was... that year. Again, pretty good game. And one last one from me. Mm-hmm. FNAF. Five Nights at Freddy's.
Oh god, yeah, that started a.
It started then, and then it had a sequel directly afterwards, a few months later, and then the following year you had 3 and 4 come out.
Yeah, I mean Scott Cawthon, he's a machine. Yeah. Good guy though. Good guy.
But speaking of horror, it's like The Evil Within also came out that year as well, which I found to be really good.
When did Dark Dreams Don't Die come out? Was that this year or last year? I think Dark Dreams Don't Die was this year, D4.
Maybe, possibly.
D4.
I know one game that came out this year, but I didn't play it until the following year because it came out later. Shantae and the Pirate's Curse.
More Shantae?
Yes.
Yeah. It's like...
Borderlands 2 came out for Linux.
Yeah. Lovely. Legend of Korra. A lot of people didn't like The Legend of Korra. I did.
I played it. Do own it. So frankly, I can still keep it.
I bought it and played it, and yeah, I mean, it was perfectly serviceable, fun little action game.
Right. A lot of people shout on it too much on that. Anyway,
is there anything else from this year?
Granted, there is another game in there, but we're not going to talk about it because it's obviously part of a dead brand now of a dead sub brand of a franchise that we know. So, Sonic Boom.
That one.
Yeah. So yeah, Rise of Lyric and Shattered Crystal came out that year. Shattered Crystal, okay. Rise of Lyric, yeah, you kind of shot yourselves in the foot, guys.
For that one, okay.
You actually made a game worse than Sonic 06. Congratulations.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. That's
not played it. Never intend to play
it. Anyway,
2015.
Yeah, 2015. Yes.
I've got some good games this year.
Grand Theft Auto 5 finally comes to PC.
Oh shit! No, 2014. Tales of the Borderlands. Just quickly throwing that one in. Yeah, 2015. 2015 was a big fun year for me. Certainly, I would say.
I can see 2 in the top 5 rated that you would have played.
I got a few here that I've actually enjoyed as well. Splatoon came out this year.
That was a good
in
one.
2015. Revelations 2, Resident Evil Revelations 2 came out that year as well, which they actually they knew how to handle the episodic kind of like game where they had a episode released every week rather than whenever they feel like it. You know, so yeah.
Or as Telltale started to kind of
Telltale
this was the point. This was the point, like now, where it was like Telltale was going, yeah, we can make a game for that, yeah, and that, all at once, no problem, it's fine.
Yeah. Although another episodic game that came out that year that actually got its episodes released within the calendar year was Life is Strange.
Yes, that is true.
At least they got their scheduling right, and they actually had at least the game completed within that calendar year, to follow up with a retail release afterwards as well. Although another game that didn't follow that thing was King's Quest, 2015, which ended in 2016. So yeah, great for that.
Was the Journey this year? Oh, the Journey was this year. Weird, that kind of just where you walk around.
I think that was the PS4 release of it. I think it had a release on PS3 before.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. This is sort of like it's like my own list plus just looking up whatever's coming up as well at the same time.
No,
refreshing my memory.
That's why I did all this the day beforehand. So I just wrote down the ones that I know.
I quit after I found my game of the decade.
I already knew what my game of the decade was going to be. I thought about it, but I just kind of like I had like a bunch of like games in a list here, but I've got like Wikipedia open at the same time and just like refreshing myself and going, oh, I missed that one.
So there's 2 that are definitely on your list, ShadowFox.
Oh, absolutely. I'm gonna start at the lower end of my list for this year. Ori and the Blind Forest.
Okay, I forgot about that one. That was a good one.
That was a fantastic game. Fallout 4 was this year. Another good one. Not as great as the others, but it was still enjoyable. Still played it. Still liked it. Bloodborne this year again.
Yeah, Bloodborne was one of my high ones.
Arkham Knight, the final in the Batman series, which honestly, again, good series. Kind of made a good combat system, and a lot of companies saw that system and went, "Yeah, we'll take that."
And everyone has now copied it. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. And then I think my 2 big uns, Undertale and Phantom Pain.
Yeah, I figured those would be.
Yeah, I might have more to speak about those later on.
I will say another big one was Witcher 3 that came out that year.
Oh yeah.
Not played it yet. I don't know if I'm ever going to get time. Another one that was big for me was Nuclear Throne. I really enjoyed that one.
I remember you speaking a lot about that game.
Yeah, it was really good while it was in development. And Majora's Mask 3D came out.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Turb? What were your big uns?
I wouldn't say big uns. I mean, I went through some of them, yeah, but a couple of other ones that I didn't talk about. Persona 4 Dancing All Night. That came out during that time. Although I think, what was it? I didn't play it until later because it was a free game on PlayStation Plus Until Dawn.
That's fair.
That came out that year. Although granted, it's serviceable. It's like, no, I think the game that year was Transformers Devastation. And again,
I've heard nothing
Platinum
bad
Games,
about that. Yeah.
Yeah, Platinum Games, they know how they knew how to work on that one there. And well, granted, it didn't come out the following year, but it did come out in Japan in 2015. But I'm a bit ashamed to have said it's against a Galgun double face. Anyway, moving on. 2016.
Hang on, wait. There's two big ones that I had for 2015. My indie big one was Crypto the Necrodancer.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
So it was in early access the year before, which is when we bought it, but it was officially released in 2015. The other one is the Talos Principle.
Oh, that's a fun one. Yeah.
It's one I highly recommend to anyone that likes their puzzle games. It does not get enough love. That game.
I'll do a quick little shout as well for Rocket League that released that year and Super Mario Maker. Not games I play, but games that were.
That's fair. They deserve.
They're not all games I've all necessarily played, but they're games that worth like a little. This also came out, and I know a lot of people like this because I've seen it and it is a good game, and I'll agree on that.
Well, I'm the same. I did play those briefly, both of those. Well, especially Rocket League recently, and I can understand the appeal of them, but I'm just not into them at all.
Yeah, not my thing.
They're still worth like honourable mentions of the year.
Every title that I've mentioned here are pretty much honorable mentions. But yeah, 2016. Well, I played at least. That came out during this year. You have the Batman Telltale series.
That was good.
That I need to get through to that at some point.
That they were still hitting home. They peaked again with that. I think.
No, well, I think they were kind of like wavering on this one.
I mean, I feel like some of their Walking Deads between were a little lacking, and the Game of Thrones I think came out before that or around this time, and that was a bit. Yeah.
Dead by Daylight also came out that year. Obviously, if anyone who's obviously seen any of the Last Minute Continue live streams on the YouTube or like the replays on YouTube and stuff like that, know that we like our Dead by Daylight.
It's a good one.
This is also the same year that the PlayStation VR came out as well, I believe.
Yes, it was.
So stuff like that I got to play, Keep Talking Nobody Explodes.
That's fun.
Oh, I do enjoy that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think that might have came out earlier for the other VR set of.
No, it came out in 2016.
Oh, it did come out in 2016. All right, so
all the VR headsets came out in that year, I think.
Yeah, a couple of other shameful kind of like stuff that I played, like Senran Kagura SO Versus.
Job Simulator was that year.
Yeah, my first time playing a what was it? A visual novel style kind of like game, Root Letter. It's kind of like an adventure kind of like game where it's like Japanese adventure style. I think they call it visual novels. I think.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, so played that. Shantae Half Genie Hero came out in 2016 as well.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, Mirror's Edge Catalyst. I feel as though that is underrated. That I feel like even though it's like a soft reboot of the series, I still felt it's a damn good game. Unravel came out that year. Lovely game, that one.
Oh wow.
Ooh.
Super Hot. Came out that year, but I played it on PS4, which came out the year after. Star Fox Zero and Guard came out that year as well. Sonic Boom Fire and Ice, meh.
Yeah.
Project Diva X came out that year as well.
So some big one. Oh, go.
Yeah, quite big one. But the biggest one that I'm saving here for last. And I'm sorry, I think this might be getting close to that coveted top spot for me, at least. Although, granted, everyone's fighting for this top spot here. Doom 2016.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
it was the first thought when I went game of this decade was Doom 2016. Has anything beaten that? That was like my benchmark.
Mm-hmm. So it's quite tough, but it's looking like for myself that is my game of the decade. I think I'm not 100% sure.
Oh.
I don't know. I'm still contemplating it between that and a couple other titles. So we'll see at the end.
There's a few big titles from my end that I played this year. Persona 5.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No question. SteamWorld Heist, which was a favourite of mine. Dark Souls 3. Titanfall 2.
Oh, Titanfall 2 was definitely a winner for me that year.
Haven't finished it yet.
It's a shame EA wanted it to die.
XCOM 2. Pokemon Sun and Moon.
Oh, Sumo.
And then there was a few others which I don't think any of us were big on, which were Overwatch, came out that year.
Yeah, I played it and I did enjoy it, though I think my stance on Activision Blizzard from now on is no, just no.
Uncharted 4 did come out that year, though.
Do you know what else came out that year?
What's that?
Another Soulsian game.
Did I not say Dark Souls 3?
Not yet.
Yeah, he did say Dark Souls.
I missed that. I missed that one. Sorry. Oh well.
But yes, the end of the Dark Souls trilogy, and that was my favourite. And another one, Inside, I quite liked.
Oh, was that weird indie game with a child, or?
Yes.
Yeah. It was like it was the follow up to Limbo.
Yes.
Yes. It's done by the same guys.
Yes.
Which, funnily enough, Limbo must have came out earlier in the decade.
It did.
I think it was 2010.
Yeah.
Or 2009.
So it might have just skipped on the decade. Either or. So
what else was there this year? Are you done? I got a Owlboy.
Yeah, go ahead.
Owlboy was this year. That was a fun little platformer. Stardew Valley.
Oh, how did I forget Stardew Valley?
Which recently had an update again. More that's still going. Stellaris, that's a fun one. Lots of mods. That one's still going. What else? The Deus Ex: Mankind Divided. Killing Floor.
Civ 6.
Killing Floor 2, which I swear came out earlier, but I feel like that thing was in early access
for like 10 years.
Yeah. I feel like it's something like that. And there was one huge release in 2016.
Which was?
Pokemon Go.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point.
I think I tell you what, game of the decade. It's hard to argue Pokemon Go wouldn't be one of the top contenders for that.
No, I'm not going to disagree with you on that one. Certainly by
that first month when that game came out, you could not avoid Pokemon for that entire week, that month. It was just people were walking around, phones out.
Yeah, almost getting run over.
Yeah.
But is that it for 2016? Because
I think that's the 2016 for me.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, then, yeah, we've got 2017 then, where some notable ones that I put down.
Yeah, I remember we definitely did cover this one because
we did do this in our in a podcast. You can go back and watch it, but listen back to it.
You can watch it as well if you put.
You can watch it with your ears. I think I've already made that joke already on these podcasts. But 2017, just a couple of notable things. Evil Within 2, Resident Evil 7, Biohazard, Hellblade's Senua's Sacrifice. I played this a lot later for that, thanks to Game Pass. But regardless, it was still good. Mario & Rabbids Kingdom Battle, which was a surprise.
Oh, well,
this was also the Switch release.
I was going to say, you missed the big one, the Switch.
Yeah, this is the Switch. So you had like Breath of the Wild and Kingdom Battle and Splatoon 2 and Super Mario Odyssey. Jeez, there was a lot of big titles that launch year for the Switch.
The Switch came out swinging pretty hard.
Oh yeah, definitely. Sonic Mania, originally came out that year as well.
This is true.
And Sonic Forces.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you had the yin and yang of the Sonic.
I'm surprised actually none of these, neither of the online game, the MMOs I'm thinking came on either list, but Final Fantasy XIV and Elder Scrolls Online came out this decade and have been updating every couple of years as well. So.
Yeah, I mean, Final Fantasy XIV, you had like the massive reset of that one.
So if we're not, the reset version started in 2010 and died in 2011, or maybe 2012, and then the current version of it was released in 2013 and has had a expansion every 2 years. But I didn't start playing it till 2019, so
yeah. Well, it's the same for Monster Hunter as well. Yeah, Monster Hunter's had a number of titles throughout this decade as well. And of course, the most notable one is Monster Hunter World at the moment, which is still going strong.
Is Monster Hunter World an MMO?
It's not an MMO,
but it's like, it's like online, like the online component of like teaming up and going hunting monsters.
You've got your hub worlds and stuff, and I think that was a great game. It's on the Xbox Game Pass, so yay, played that now.
But yeah, the last one I want to talk about from my list, or last couple even, Life is Strange Before the Storm, so a prequel to Life is Strange.
Yeah, that's fair.
Which, it wasn't the typical form of like episodic content. It was only like 3 episodes, not 5. But
that's fine. No one really set the rules for episodic games.
Well, many people. Well, it's like. When Telltale started the episodic games, it was normally inconsistent to 5 episodes. Usually.
5 or 6. I think S.A.M.E. Max started with 6, then went down to 5.
All right, so it's kind of like between that kind of like kind of like number. But anyway, the last one I want to talk about was, and again, this is a series that've had entries before, either in this decade or in the last one. But Nier Automata.
Yes, which I didn't play till the year after, and would have probably made my number 1 for that year. If I'm going to be honest.
That's just a few notable titles that I played in that year.
Surprised you didn't mention what your number 1 from that year was.
Which was
Breath of the Wild.
I did mention Breath of the Wild.
Did you?
I don't.
You listed off a lot of Switch games very quickly. To be fair.
Yeah,
yes,
I
did.
I think that one kind of got lost in the shuffle because I didn't remember hearing that one. But fair enough. Oh, I missed out Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
When did that come out?
That was 2011.
Mm-hmm.
That was
fun.
then
you had Ultimate later on that year as well, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was fun.
You're fighting Phoenix Wright.
Yep. Oh, Yakuza 0. That was 2015.
There's been a lot of Yakuza games.
There was a lot of Yakuza games that came out this decade.
Okay, yeah. Yakuza's been hitting it. I mean, Sega have been pretty much doing pretty good with their obscure Japanese titles that have somehow gotten amazingly big in the West.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. I played the Hatsune Miku games, for Christ's sake.
That's true.
Actually, I just realised Yakuza 0 was actually 2015 in Japan, didn't come out worldwide till 2017, 2018. So,
wow.
So that was a lot.
I love that for 2019, Wikipedia have now added a films based on video game releases category. It's like, there's that many, is there? Wait, when did a Doom movie come out this year?
It was Annihilation. It came out direct to DVD.
Oh, well, that's why I didn't see anything
Fair
about
enough. It. What else was this? So this year was Destiny 2 as well.
I mean, we've done 2018, 2019 on our own things. We've missed out on a few big ones like, I don't know, Red Dead Redemption 2, Sekiro.
That was somewhere. Was it Night in the Woods was also then, and Fortnite 2017. Yay, Fortnite. Yay.
I think 2017 was pretty much because you had PUBG in alpha like in early access a couple of years beforehand.
I mean, is it out of it yet?
I don't know. It's like it has a disc release on Xbox, so and on PlayStation. So I feel as though that if it's got a disc now, it's out of beta.
Yeah, that's a fair assumption, I think.
Oh, I missed out No Man's Sky from 2016. That was a... Well, actually, no, I would say No Man's Sky in 2016 was not a good game. No Man's Sky now is a good game.
Yeah.
I would say it was either Next or I think Next was the update that made it good. Then there was Beyond, which has made it even better, and then there was a new one very recently, which is even amazing. It's a game that has proven you can release a pile of shit and make it good. You shouldn't.
You shouldn't,
but you can.
They've definitely suffered because of it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. They suffered because of it. If the game released as it was now, good game. As it was, bad game.
Yeah. So, I feel so we've gone on long enough, and I think we've listed off a ton. There has been a lot of games that came out in this past decade, and there's just way too many. And trying to narrow it down to the game of the decade is gotta be difficult.
It's extremely difficult because we had the generation jump as well. We've been
we were in between generations and with different innovations and whatnot that were introduced into this series, into this market with VR and stuff like that.
And even the mid-console upgrades as well.
Yeah, well, I think we're next gen Xbox. Whatever, the new Xbox Tower thing and the
Xbox
PlayStation
Series
5.
X and PlayStation 5.
PlayStation 5, which is slated for very early next decade.
For the decade.
Well,
they're slated for
next decade. Yeah.
No, they're next year.
Are they next year?
Yeah, they're next
2020.
year.
Oh yeah, so they're early this decade. So this next decade will be the decade of the.
The next decade
consoles.
will be the main contenders will be Xbox One, Series S, and PS5. But they're coming out at the end of 2020, so this is the end of the decade. Will really be the swan song for the the Xbox One and PS4, really. And it'll be whether console manufacturers focus on making some really good games to round out this generation, or do they just focus all their energy on the next gen?
I mean, I say console generation. It's always interesting to see how's the adaptation rate. Because you get a lot of games, like Destiny was one of the games that was cross-generational for a very long time before I think 4 years before they dropped it. Just because the old consoles didn't have the space to work with it. In theory,
I think Xbox have confirmed that all of their games will be forward compatible, so there's at least that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Xbox is. I think all previous Xbox generations are backwards compatibility on the new Xbox. I think,
except not all Xbox original titles will be. I think.
No, I don't think all of them, but a decent amount of them will be.
We'll have to wait and see.
Well.
So yeah, we're gonna end on this topic of what we feel is the game of the decade. Now we all have our different tastes and whatnot. And we got a plethora of games to choose from and whatnot. I'm gonna go last on this, so. Because apparently Josh has his game of the decade. So
mine,
this podcast.
Mine was very easy to pick, and it's not going to change even with another year, because I've basically gone. I looked at those top games, and as soon as I figured out that The Binding of Isaac could be released this generation, regardless of which version, I've put 600 hours into that game. I'm still playing that game, despite the fact I've 100%ed it. Because it's such a good game to just go back to. And that was my main thing is, would I still play? Did I enjoy this game when it came out? Yes. Have I continued playing it? Yes. Do I still enjoy this game? Yes. For me, and bearing in mind, I did not buy this game originally. Dusk bought this game for me as a gift.
Hey.
Now, admittedly, I bought the Rebirth version, but, I think that's proof of that game has had that staying power that it deserves the honour of my game of the decade, because no game, maybe if I'd started playing Final Fantasy XIV when it was first released, that might have hit it, but I didn't. I played that this year, and as far as I'm concerned, yes, it's my game of the year, but it's spoilers. If you haven't seen the other one anyway. But it's not stood the test of time yet for me. Binding of Isaac has stood the test of time. I'm still playing it 8 years later. Well, 9 years later, almost.
Yeah.
I just think it deserves it. So the Binding of Isaac, I'm going to say the Rebirth version, just because it's the better version. But it's not a game for everyone, and that's perfectly understandable. It's a roguelike, so yeah, loads of luck. It's got stupidly difficult character players, but you know what? I think it's got enough that it's worth everyone trying it.
No, yeah. I would. That's good points.
Yeah,
so I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the game.
Yeah. So that's good. So John, what do you feel as though that your game is
my game of the decade?
Yeah.
So I spent some time on my night shift at work thinking about what would I say is like a game of the decade, and well, I could say, I spent a lot of time in Dota. I spent a lot of time in Destiny. But I thought, well, these games aren't, while they're good, they're not necessarily unique kind of games. They didn't really necessarily shake up the game development world. And I decided, well, what's something that lingers with me still, something that I still enjoy, and is something different. And I honestly think I might have to say that Undertale was my game of the year. Because as well as
game of the decade.
Game of the decade, sorry. It was game of the year. It was game of the year that year, and it's also my game of the decade now. But because I think through it, and I think, well, what is it? It's an indie game made by Toby Fox with help from Temi Chang, and it has as much, like, it's as well known as any Call of Duty, any other Fortnite, any whatever. It's an indie game with a guy who's come out and managed to, at this point, get his character Sans from Undertale in Smash Brothers. He even made and went a musical track for Smash Brothers.
And Sans appeared in wrestling as well.
He did, yeah. And this is the thing. It's had a ripple effect. I was quite honestly tempted to put Five Nights at Freddy's here as well for essentially the same reason. Guy comes along, makes game, becomes worldwide hit. You don't need to be a AAA. You don't need to be an Activision. You need to be an EA or an Ubisoft to make a really good game.
So that's an interesting one because, I can't go to the supermarket now without seeing FNAF Funkos, FNAF figurine collection stuff.
Merchandise and all that. Yeah.
I think this year has been a really good year for indie developers in general. I just put Undertale above FNAF because I think Undertale is a more enjoyable game as well.
No, I agree with you on that one.
like FNAF probably has a bigger appeal, but the Undertale is a game worth playing just for playing the game anyway. The fact and the cultural impact it's had as well is what makes it more than just like a game of the decade, but makes it a memorable moment of the decade as well in gaming history.
No, I can't say anything wrong on that. So with myself, it's kind of difficult because I have 3 titles that are headbutting each other to try to get into that top podium spot.
Fight.
It's very difficult to kind of like say, because I felt that all 3 of these titles did their job of keep me hooked for a good while, and introduce or just be really good games in their franchises and whatnot, and actually get me like real hooked into them and whatnot. And even though I was already hooked on them beforehand, it just sucked me right back in. And those 3, I have to say, are basically Halo Reach, Gears 3, and Doom 2016. Those 3 are making it difficult for me to choose from.
I would lean to Reach, but that's me.
Well, of course, I'm the same. It's like it's really hard because I love Reach. Reach was a great game, and it's like, Gears 3 was also a really good game as well, because in both of those games it was all about the characters as well in the story. It's like it's this for Reach, it was finding out what happened before the first Halo.
It's like if you knew the books, you knew the outcome.
Yeah, because this is the thing. I had already read the book, so I kind of knew everything that was going to happen.
But to get another point of view on it, to get a new perspective, it was super enjoyable. I went back and played it now because it's out again, and I still enjoy it.
I'm not going to spoil the ending, but I do think the ending was done really well.
I think that was pretty good.
Well, that was the case with for me. Well, the case with me was that I didn't read the additional media that actually, told about the fall of Reach and stuff like that. I didn't read that. So when I played the game, I knew about it. I knew because I played the other entries in the series where they talked about it.
It is a prequel essentially. So you know what's going to happen, but how it happens.
But how it happens. It really got in, it really went with me. Gears 3 on that was the crown jewel in a trilogy that, nicely wrapped it all up in this nice little story arc where you've been through that kind of I think at that time, what was it? It was 2006. The first game came out, so
sounds about right.
About 7-year journey of that series and whatnot across 3 games, and you're kind of been with these all these characters, and then the twists that come around them. It's it was quite the ride on that one with really good action to boot. And then you have Doom 3, and then you have Doom 2016, which just completely blows story out of the water and just gives you badass action.
But it does it for the betterment of the game, is the thing.
Yes.
In terms of pure gameplay enjoyment, you can't go too wrong with Doom.
No, you can't. So really, it's difficult for me to choose just one game between those 3. But if someone put a gun to my head and just said, "Look, you have to choose one."
Hang on, let me just go get my gun.
But no, if I had a gun to my head and I had to choose one, I think it had to go to Reach. I think Halo Reach it was really good because of course it allowed you to be kind of because Noble 6, who you get to play as in the game, was essentially yourself.
It was a blank slate.
Degree. It was a blank slate, even though he had a voice in the game.
And you could customize him as you wished.
Yeah, or her. I believe you can make.
You can.
Them,
you can.
Yeah. So in hindsight, it's it was that game which allowed you to do that. Now, granted, you had ODST beforehand that kind of had you in a rookie role in the story and whatnot, and you kind of insert yourself into the series. But no, Reach took it a bit further because it gave you emotional connections to the characters that were supporting you in that game, and the level layout was great. The missions that you were on were great. Overall, I found it to be great.
I will say, out of the 3 that you've picked, I think that's a good decision as well, just because the stuff outside of that single player experience that Halo Reach added to the series as well.
Yeah, I played a lot of them online when it was when I was fully into it. I was fully invested with the multiplayer of Reach, and I felt as though that was the best multiplayer in the series.
It had some of the best. They added Griffball as a actual game mode. They had Skee Ball. They had races. They had I
believe they introduced the Forge as well. They introduced Forge 2.0. I think,
because Forge was in 3, but Forge 2.0 Halo has always been a trend setter in gaming, in general gaming. It's hard to tell. I think Halo 2 was one of the first games to introduce a sort of a health regen system because it made sense in Halo. You had a shield.
Yeah.
You're not taking the hits, your shield is. And then every other game decided, you're in World War II, you can take a few 50 bullets. It's fine. It's fine.
Just suck your thumb in the corner and, you know.
But interesting, when it went back to ODST and Halo Reach, you had a shield bar and a health bar.
Yeah, and it made sense, though.
Yeah, and it still made sense. Halo's been one of the ones that has, like I say, it's been a trendsetter. It's put things in place, and it's always made sense for it.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll stick with my stick with my choice there of Halo Reach. I feel as though that was game of the year for me, or game of the decade even. So
yeah. Game of this year, game of the first year.
Yeah, well, yeah, because you can now play it on PC for all those PC players out there who want to understand what this was all about and whatnot. You got the entire
I haven't actually finished
collection
yet, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting. I'm trying to get through the PC version at the moment.
Oh, well, there you go then. So you'll get through it eventually. But anyway, I feel as though that's perfect for us to end this very extra long podcast, because this is going way too longer than normal. So
it's almost
thanks very
length.
much for sticking around. If you have been sticking around.
Yeah, I say this decade, certainly towards the beginning of the decade, absolutely amazing.
And I think as we've been coming to the latter half, we've definitely been seeing an increase of the amount of quality games that come out, which has made it more difficult.
I think there are certainly there are some big hitters this year, and well, if we're lucky, loot boxes are going away.
No, they're not going away for a while.
Not for a while, but
hopefully, sometime in the 203rd decade, we'll start getting rid of loot boxes. But we'll see.
We shall see how it turns out.
Indeed, we will.
Bring back cheat codes.
You never know; they might well. Anyway. That is us for the Last Minute Continue cast here for December 2019. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. If you liked listening to us, subscribe to wherever you're hearing this, either through iTunes or other listening kind of like platforms that you're listening to this on. Be sure to keep up to date by following the Last Minute Continue Twitter at the Last Minute Continue. And also checking out the YouTube, well, not the YouTube, but the actual website as well, lastminutecontinue.com.
Check out the YouTube channel as well, and the Twitch channel.
Check out the Twitch. Yeah. But,
and if you haven't already, listen to our Game of the Years for 2019 and even 2018 and 17 if you fancy it. I've already given away my best Game of the Year for 2019, but these two guys, there's still a secret out there. What was the game they loved the most?
Yeah, you can go listen back and whatnot. But anyway, thanks very much for listening, guys. I've been John Turbo Finley. This has been Josh.
Yarg.
This has been John.
Ahoy.
All right, and we will see you. Well, I don't know if they'll be back for next month, but I'll be here next month for the brand new year. That is 2020. Hopefully, it's gonna be a better year than this one. I'll definitely be praying on that. Anyway, take care, people.
Take care.
Take care, people, and see you later. Bye-bye.